any further ado, thank you all for coming. And I want to welcome you to the RCS Library's first annual Meet the Candidates Night. For those of you who are familiar with this, this is an event that a number of organizations in the community have tried to get going and have met with a couple of roadblocks here and there. So the library decided to take it over and give it a running start. It is our hope that in the future, we'll have other organizations able to make this event a reality, but the library is happy to be doing it in the meantime. And we really appreciate the willingness of the candidates to participate. So good evening, and thank you all for coming. I'm Judith Wines. I know most of you. I'm the director of the RCS Library. First, some housekeeping. Our candidates have been pinned to the screen, so they should be the candidates you're seeing, especially if you are on a laptop or a desktop, they will remain visible. Everyone else should be on mute. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions in advance. We have those, we appreciate them. If you wish to submit questions during the event, you can submit them directly to me in the chat. We may decide to combine some questions on the same theme or edit for brevity. Questions that involve personal attacks will not be asked. Our format for this evening is each candidate has up to 3 minutes for introductory statements. They'll have up to 2 minutes for responses to questions and 2 minutes for closing statements. We're encouraging candidates to yield their time as appropriate so that we can get to as many questions as possible while holding the event to 1 hour. I do have a yellow card and a red card. I'm gonna feel like a soccer referee. So I will be doing the timekeeping. So keep your eyes on the screen, please. Red card, of course, means time is up. So it is my pleasure to introduce our candidates. And I'm gonna pause to admit a few stragglers into the room here. Admit, there we go. Excellent. And we have, if you could just wave candidates as I say your name. Cindy Rousey, candidate for supervisor. Yvonne Shackleton and Sarah Proxima Rizzo, candidates for town council. Cheryl Slingerland, candidate for town clerk. And Kristen Gagan, candidate for Albany County Legislature for the town of Coeymans. And lastly, I'd like to introduce our moderator. I'm sure he's a familiar face to many of you, Reverend Antonio Booth. Antonio, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I just want to disclose that I have I've known a lot of the candidates, not only in this room, but also on the opposing side. So I just want to give full disclosure that I've had contacts with Daniel Baker related to the crop walk and Linda Bruno related to the RCS Association of Churches and George McHugh, as well as Cindy Rousey and also Sarah Prusmack. So I've had interactions with all of them. And the other thing is, I can't vote in this election because I live in Selkirk. So I wanted you to know that my questions, that any questions that are being brought up are going to be as impartial as possible. So don't think that I have any agenda at all. So first of all, if you could just make each of you could give a brief statement of why you're running and your vision. Give us a brief statement about yourself and why you're running. Let's make it that simple.
Okay, would you like me to go first?
Whoever, yes.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start us off. I just wanted to thank Judith and the library for hosting this tonight, and thank Reverend Booth for being our moderator, and thank those who are attending for coming to listen to what we have to say. I am currently the town clerk. I've been the town clerk for the past 4 years now. And I worked for the town of Coeymans for 2 years before that, and I worked for the village of Ravenna for 3 years before that. So I have a background in municipal governments. I also have, while I've been working for the town of Coeymans, obtained my associate's degree in accounting with a focus on governmental accounting in order to help me understand the budgeting process and really just the municipal finances of a town. My top priorities for when I'm elected is I want to update the town ethics law. I want to mandate financial disclosure forms for elected and appointed officials. just in order to help with openness and transparency in government. I want to institute a multi-year planning in order to help the town stay on a more even keel, so we don't raise taxes one year lower than the next. We can hopefully just stay with not having to borrow as much money as well if we're planning ahead and utilizing reserve funds. I would like to work with the business association and the village in order to work on the branding campaign that the business association has mentioned several times in order to help bring more businesses, bring more people to our area. And one of the things I want to do, I've already done in the town clerk's office, is to create efficiencies in some of the government processes to hopefully help save the taxpayers money. I'm going to continue some of the work that's been going on with the grants and like some of the work in the parks to make sure that we keep our community beautiful for all of the people here. And I want to work with the community and the town board to do the best that we can for the people and to listen to the voice of the people.
Thanks, Cindy. I guess I'll go next. I'm Yvonne Shackleton, and I'm running for town council. I have lived in the village of Ravenna for about 25 years with my husband and my 2 sons. I have worked in the areas of data analytics and finance for most of my career. I am also currently serving on the Board of Education for the RCS School District. Between working on the board and working in my career in data, I believe I've learned things from both of those that will translate nicely into a position of town council. I understand what it means to have to operate in a local government according to what the taxpayers are asking for. I understand how to see budgets, how to look at forecasting for budgets and other things surrounding finances. But one of my main reasons for running, in addition to working with my fellow board members on all the initiatives that need attention, is that I really feel that the people of the town do need a stronger voice in what happens in their community. I was inspired to run because I thought that was a need that needed to be filled. And when I'm in office, I do plan to do all that I can to make sure that residents' voices are heard and that they are valued.
Thank you. The next one, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Slingerland. I'm running for town clerk. The reason Cindy feels that Cindy knows that I have the skills to handle the job, and I would love to continue the work that she has started in making everything more efficient over there. I've been with the Coeymans Fire Department for 21 years, serving as their secretary and their treasurer, as well as being an EMT with the Ravenna Rescue Squad for 25 years. I no longer do that, but I love helping the community, obviously. And when Cindy said that she was going to be leaving as town clerk and the town needed me, I stepped up. And I definitely want to do as much as I can to help the town become family friendly. We need to bring all our families back.
Thank you. Okay, next. Kristen?
Hi, everyone.
Oh, sorry.
I'm Sarah Pruxma. You may know me as the artist of the group, and I'll give you a little bit of background on that. I started out at Columbia Green Community College, transferred to Alfred University, had a really great experience out there, and received my MFA, that's a Master's in Fine Arts from SUNY Albany. While I was attending SUNY Albany, I founded and curated a gallery up in Albany for 2 years. So I've just always been super busy and multitasking a lot with a lot of things that matter to me. My husband might say differently, that I'm not so great at multitasking, but simultaneously, I've also been on the board for a few different community arts organizations. So while my experience is mostly in the arts, a lot of that translates to working with the community, valuing community input, being, working constructively and problem solving with community members. And I think that's what our board really needs. I also really want to see a town board that thinks critically about their tasks and their daily tasks. I know currently that, the board has given up their daily duties, and I think that's at a disservice to the community members. I think we need town board members who are really engaged in every aspect of their job. One of the things that I would really like to do, part of my vision as a town board member, would be to preserve and highlight the natural and historic assets of our town. We have tremendous parks here, a lot of beautiful natural resources, including the river. And we have some of the most amazing architecture in the area. So I did highlight that in a program that I did in 2019 to 2020, and I want to continue to do that. And thank you very much to the library and Antonio Booth for doing this forum tonight.
Hi, my name is Kristen Gagan. That's how you say it. And I'm running for Albany County Legislature. This is my first time ever running for any political office, but I'm excited to do it. The opportunity came up, and I think my life experience and skills are a good fit for the position. I graduated RPI with a degree in computer science with a minor in accounting, and I worked for 33 years for the New York State Legislature on their financial management system. So I have good experience with that. I retired last year. And when this opportunity arose, I thought I could step up and help out the community. Coeymans deserves a strong advocate who can hit the ground running, and I believe I'm a good candidate for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and that is, first, what are the 3 most pressing challenges facing Coeymans right now, the town of Coeymans right now? Any of you can answer.
Well, I guess I'll start with that. I think our economic development is probably one of the most pressing challenges that we have. If we look at our Main Street and our dilapidated buildings and things like that, the Main Street down in Coeymans as well is kind of in a similar state. We see the need to really bring in new economic opportunities for the area, new small businesses, things like that. So I'd say that's probably one of the number one things. I think a balance in life between industry and the natural beauty of the area is also another. I don't know if anyone else would like to chime in with a third.
I'll say that I think we need to focus on livability, and that correlates to safety issues. And underneath that umbrella is the truck traffic, lack of sidewalks in certain areas, safe crossways around 9W. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to just help improve the safety and just livability. There's families that are moving out of the area, and I think it's unfortunate. Coeymans does have a lot to offer, but I think we need to really hone in on what we want our town to be.
Okay, on that note, I know I heard you speak about truck traffic. So I have in the comprehensive plan for the town, it mentions encouraging a special route from the thruway to the industrial park. Would any of you advocate for that?
As town supervisor, I definitely would. I think that that would help the situation immensely, because a lot of that traffic is going to throughway exits. It would help with the traffic on 143 and on 144. And I think it's an ideal situation to keep the industries here in town and to make it, like Sarah was saying, more livable.
I have to agree, especially now that the Port of Coeymans won the contract to start manufacturing the wind turbines for the downstate wind farm. We read in about this project, and we understand that steel for the project will be trucked in from a company in Pennsylvania. So that sounds like an increase in truck traffic. We already know that truck traffic on Main Street is a very big concern of our residents, and knowing that it is likely to increase because of the project, which, in by itself can be a boon to the community. Well, we do want to be proactive and think about what that truck traffic can mean. And it does seem like another reason to look at a dedicated throughway ramp for those trucks.
What would you tell, since we don't know quality of life, what would you tell a person moving into Coeymans? What would you like? What would you tell someone thinking of moving into Coeymans? What would you tell them? Any of you?
It's a beautiful community full of welcoming people.
I think I would say something similar, and I can speak from my own experiences of moving in about 10.5 years ago now, that there's so many different ways to involve yourself in this community, so many different organizations and things like that, with all of them being welcoming, and just encourage people to jump right in and to become part of the different organizations that we have here.
Okay. Anyone else? Since it's 5, so I have to make sure I don't overlook anyone. So, okay. If you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why? Okay, did you guys hear the question? Well, we can't hear you.
Would you mind if we went back to the previous question?
Yes, go right ahead.
I would, for anybody that was interested in moving into Coeymans, I would tell them about all the wonderful things that we have here that it took, myself a few years to find out about. Just like Joralemon Park for one thing, and our parks that are off sort of the beaten track. I guess I would kind of clue them into all the wonderful things that I know I personally love. And, I'm thinking about the architecture too, just sort of some of the hidden gems that are really special, like the Seville Academy and things like that. I would just share a lot of that information.
We're hearing a lot of background noise. Okay, so if If there was anything that anything that you could change in our zoning codes, what would it be and why?
I guess I can start with that one. A lot of our zoning code is old and I do believe needs to be updated. And I do think that's something that needs to be brought to the people to get suggestions from the people. I know I would love to have the availability in our zoning code to have a transfer station similar to that is in Cooksaki or Greenville. As the code stands right now, that's not a possibility. And so I would like to see something like that be put back in the code. As the comp plan has stated, the industrial zone isn't going to grow any. So that is a good thing, but it's we just need to make sure that things are looked after as they're happening in town.
Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna go to a more controversial question. What is your position on recreational marijuana and related businesses opening up in the town? Will you, it's more of a two-part question, so I'm gonna just ask that one first. What is your position on recreational marijuana related to businesses opening up in the town? Will we have a business plan that could bring more positive versus negative impacts to the town?
Yeah, I think we should stop putting people of color in jail, and people, low-income people were more affected by the drug laws. So I'm in favor of the legalization laws, and I think the businesses could be a great boon to the community.
And I agree with Kristen.
I also agree. I know there have been some preliminary talks about possibly having, a distribution center or, a store of some sort. A dispensary is the word I'm looking for here in town. From a purely economical standpoint, I think that it's almost a no-brainer to bring Coeymans into being very competitive as far as economics goes. We've seen it. We've seen studies from other towns that are about the size of Coeymans, and they have seen profits within less than a year of opening their dispensaries. I know that there are also concerns surrounding what would be sold at the dispensary, but it is it's my understanding that any cannabis products that are sold would have rules and regulations around them very, very similar to the rules and regulations around alcohol. It's not that folks could just walk in and, just grab anything anytime they want. I'm sure there would be very strict rules and regulations in place. And for that reason, I feel it would be akin to having, our liquor store in town. But the bottom line, I do think it would be very good for the economic growth of Coeymans.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say that I do support it. And because it is a controversial issue, I know a lot of people say that they think it will, bring safety issues similar to alcohol into our town. And I do appreciate that and understand that. But the flip side of that coin is that it also helps to make those who want to enjoy marijuana, there's another safe outlet for them. So it's a way that the product can be regulated and I think more, safe, so that you know what your product is, that it hasn't been tampered with. That's something that I've seen. So I think that's a good pro-safety thing for having a regulated dispensary.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Tell us what you've done to volunteer for our community and for how long.
Well, let's see. I was a volunteer EMT with the rescue squad until from 1990 until 2005 when they went fully paid. I am still a volunteer with the Coeymans Hollow Volunteer Fire Company. And I have done that for 21 years.
I've
Go
volunteered.
ahead, Kristen.
Sorry. I volunteered for several local organizations. The local Boy Scout troop and the soccer club both needed help on their boards, and I stepped up and they needed help with the finances. So I became treasurer. Started with the soccer club in 2015. I think that's what makes our town great. You know, it doesn't come from the government services. It comes from people pulling together and providing opportunities for, the kids in the town.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I have been a member of the VFW Auxiliary for probably about 5 years now. And I did serve as a kind of an interim secretary for a few months during that time when they needed me. And they do a lot for the community. I've helped and done a few different programs at the library over the years, mostly to do with family history. And I have also, not directly this community, my church that I attend is in Greenville, and we try and do some things for our members, some of which live here and also down more in the Greenville area, and just for the people in that area as well.
I was also on the boards for the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts when my boys were in those organizations. So for several years, I had a few different positions. I also worked with the food pantry as a volunteer out of St. Patrick's Church. And over the last 2 years, I've been working with Kindness for Kids, which is a program that provides lunch for school-age children during the summer months. And of course, I have also been on the school board for this going on my 3rd year.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I've been involved in several different programs, one of which actually just this spring, I was working with you, Antonio, and your lovely wife to help distribute the foods through the USDA program. I also was engaged in the police reform committee and currently vice chair on the Democratic committee, and I have been since, I think, was it 2020? But my favorite thing that I've done so far for the community was developing and receiving a grant that was an artist project, but that was a project that I did in 2020, working very closely with the Historical Society and Joe Bulke, who's with us here tonight. Thank you, Joe. So I learned a ton about the historical buildings and the architecture. Through that project, I also worked with the Peter B. Elementary School, and we did 3 sessions of drawing the historic buildings and even on site over at the Seville Academy. And that whole project culminated in an art exhibit at the Historical Society for their 2020 holiday celebration.
Thank you. How can we better integrate the Hollow, and what can be done to improve vaccination rates and general compliance with zoning laws? Someone wrote, the Hollow has become a bit lawless with snowmobiles going 2 and 3 in the morning, cruising on private land, and with some property owners not complying with zoning regulations with substantial negative impacts on neighboring property. Okay, so the question is, how can we better integrate the hollow, and what can be done? What can we do to improve vaccination rates and general compliance with zoning laws? I think this question all relates to the hollow at this point.
For some of that, for the things like the ATVs and the snowmobiles and things going through the hollow, I think that the new police chief that we have this year, he's done a great job of trying to get out there and have his officers on ATVs out there interacting with the people and talking to them and letting them know about some of the rules that they're not following. And he has said that things are getting better. So I think that kind of addresses that part of it. They will be out there. As for the not following the zoning, things like that, it's really, you have to make sure that the zoning laws are really laid out in such a way that there's a definite path to follow in order to bring people into compliance with those laws. And so that could be part of the updating of the zoning laws that you had asked before, is just kind of making things, maybe updating them, making them a little more clear on what's expected and what the building inspectors and code enforcement officers duties are, and how the processes that they have to comply with in order to make sure that people are following those laws. And just kind of make sure everyone knows what to do along those lines. And then as for vaccination, I think just keep educational materials handy, keep encouraging people to get vaccinated, provide vaccination clinics, and make sure that that is available to them.
Yeah, as far as the vaccines, I think information, access, and make sure people don't lose work over it, or have to take time off. So that's all part of access, I guess, and bring it to where they are. If there's certain parts of Coeymans that have a lower rate than others, bring it to where the people are and make sure they have the right information.
Okay, thank you. Now, speaking of integrating parts of the town with others, a big conversation that's been going on is related to the town and the village relationship. So, what areas can the town and village collaborate and work together?
I would love to work with the village on a number of things. A number of them just being the businesses, bringing in small businesses, beautifying our main streets. So that would be in Ravenna and also on Main Street in Coeymans. I think there's resources there that we could both benefit from. So bringing in small businesses, facade treatments. I would also like to initiate a garden club, and I think that would go a long way to not only get people outside, but enjoy just sort of the natural aspects of gardening. But we could also have that program developed to where the garden clubs help to beautify our main streets. Perhaps they can support local businesses in beautifying their storefronts. And also I would like to see more partnership on the pool. So making sure that the cost of the town enjoying the Motor Park pool, making sure that that's laid out in advance, and just working with the village to make that accessible.
This is a more overarching answer, but to directly answer the question, I think that the town and the village should work together on everything that needs the attention of both entities. The people who live in the village and town shouldn't be inconvenience or disservice because of any sort of communication gap or rift between the two entities. The good news is that Cindy has already established a really great rapport with the village. She's worked there before. She works for the town now, but she still has a very good working relationship with them. So when she is supervisor, that's one less hurdle. We already know that she is definitely able to work with them. And I would definitely support that as a member of the new town council. And I've also gotten to speak with some of the folks from the village. I've spoken with the mayor and the deputy mayor, and we share a lot of the same visions for our region in general. And I believe that working together would only be accomplished.
I'd like to echo everything that both Yvonne and Sarah have said. I would like to add that one of the sore spots that I've noticed that always comes up again and again between the town and the village is the sewer district and the costs related to that. And so I do want to make sure that we're keeping the village informed and working with them, maybe yearly looking at our contracts and just talking with each other to make sure that everyone's on the same page with what's happening with both the sewer and also look at updating a 1982 contract with the village with the water. Sit down and seeing if there's anything we can change to update that. And like Yvonne was saying, I have a great working relationship with the village. The village clerk's office has been working with me in the town clerk's office these past few years. And we've each come up with ideas to make each other's lives easier. And so we call and we make suggestions, and I've asked for a couple things and they've been happy to help me. And I can see bringing that relationship to the town board and working with the village board in that same way.
Thank you. Now let's go to the EMT. Will there ever be a paid EMT team in the Hollow and an ambulance to cover the residents? Volunteer coverage seems to be less and less, especially with COVID. The drive to a hospital will take at least 30 minutes off that golden hour.
Well, to have paid EMTs stationed strictly in the Hollow would be quite expensive. A cost of an ambulance, just purchasing an ambulance is, and this would be a very cheap ambulance, would be $60,000. Then you need all the equipment, and then you need to have the personnel and the salaries. And not only do we have to deal with that, but the Ravenna Rescue Squad holds the Department of Health certificate for the entire town. So you would have to get approval through Ravenna Rescue Squad to even do that. They would have to give up half their territory. We could approach the rescue squad about having an additional crew on, but even that would be $150,000 a year to have them put on a second crew just to cover. Coeymans Hollow has roughly 120 calls a year, and they're not all EMS. Some of them are, fire related. So it would be quite expensive to do. We do have, the rescue squad does take 10 minutes to get out here. And that's if they're not already on another call. And if they are on a call, then we are covered by an Albany County ambulance. Again, you could try going through the county for strictly a crew in the Hollow. I do not know what that cost would be. It would be nice. And the Coeymans Hollow Fire Department does have volunteer EMTs, but again, they are volunteers. They have jobs. So they respond when they can. And unfortunately, due to COVID, they have been only told that they can only respond to the most dire cases.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe that's something that the county can help with, and
If-
look into that.
Yes.
Okay, what should be, okay, let's go back to another controversial topic. What should be the future of the Clean Air Act?
I guess I can kind of take that one. I mean, I think that's up to the people. I don't think there's any immediate concern with it right now. We are currently, I don't know of any plans for anything to be incinerated or burned in the community. The Lafarge does not currently have a permit to burn tire-derived fuel. So I think this is something that we'll look at and get advice from the people on. But at this point, it's not high on our priority list for the beginning of our we need to work on the things like the ethics and the updating some of the laws and the financial management portions, things like that. I mean, one of the options is to just repeal the clean air law and fall back on the Albany County one. That is an option, but like I said, it's something that needs to be brought to the people to see what the people want, and to see what we need to institute going forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Now let's go to, I want to make sure that we get to two very specific people running for specific offices, and that is one, the town clerk. So Cheryl, what can you tell us? Can you tell us why you are the best fit for this vital job in the town of Coeymans? That is the town clerk position.
Well, I'm already a notary public. I currently work for the Bank of Greene County, so I'm handling large amounts of cash. I also, because of working for the bank, have processed land and school taxes, so I know about that. I know how to input the information into the computer already. I have, well, except for tonight when because my computer's not working, but normally I am pretty good at computers. I'll need my son to look at this because I think it has a virus in it, but I have computer skills, people friendly. So when town residents come in, I will talk with them for as long as they would like. I will listen to their complaints or help them in any way that I can. I love to try and find answers for people.
Okay. Right now it's 7:45, and so Kristen, let's talk about you. If you're elected, how will you represent the town of Coeymans in the Albany County Legislature to make sure that we have a strong voice and we're at the table, since this area seems to be an area that's on its own?
On its own.
Yes.
Well, I think that's partly due to, who's in there representing us. If you're, some people want to stay more separate. I'm looking forward to working with the Democratic Women's Caucus in the legislature on some, with family-centered policies. I lost it. I'm sorry. I just think I can do good in the legislature.
Okay. So are you saying you want to connect with some of the other caucuses? You said about the Democratic Women's Caucus.
Women's Caucus, yeah, just get more involved in the committees and stuff. Some of our past legislators have not join committees or, kind of sign in and leave again. But I would like to get involved in whatever areas are needed. The Economic Development Committee is important to this area. The Sustainability and Green Initiatives Committee is important to this area as well. And I just want to bring Coeymans' voice to the table in Albany.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so there is an award to build a wind power at the port, and it seems on face value it's a good thing. I'm reading someone else's question. Will any growth with any growth? There's certainly downsides and infrastructure drain on both Ravenna and Coeymans. Noise, roads, quality of life issues may be impacted. Did this funding provide relief to those affected, and will our town services be awarded anything to enable us to cover or compensate the impacts? Will the 115 jobs mentioned allow Ravenna and Coeymans residents a priority in their hiring status?
Okay, I can speak a little bit to this. This is a pretty new project, or has been newly announced. We still need to look into the specifics of, how it can benefit Coeymans. But some residents have already been talking about it, and a couple of things that they have expressed concerns and ideas about are that, yes, the project is supposed to bring anywhere from 115 to around 200 new jobs. But what would be ideal would be for those workers to actually live in our area, live in Coeymans, and not necessarily live, outside of Coeymans. And to that effect, one of the suggestions was that maybe the port and maybe part of the, $85 million could be used to build housing for those folks, to keep them, in town so that they can use our services and patronize our businesses. And I believe the suggestion that went along with that is that the port could offer some, that housing to be subsidized in part, just to make it more attractive for folks to actually, work, live where they work. Again, we have to dig deeper into, what all it means for Coeymans. But we would like to see that, something, of that magnitude that would, bring something beneficial to us. I think another suggestion was that maybe the money brought in from this project, with the money brought in for that project, that, the folks who run the port could do something like rehabilitate some of our historic areas, things like that. These are just, suggestions we've heard, but we think they're good ones. And we look forward to investigating a little bit more and to see how we can leverage that project to, benefit everyone.
I know some of the things that I've heard about are big infrastructure needs to go with this project: water, sewer, roads. This might be the thing that really gets us the approval for that. The throughway exit that we mentioned before into the industrial park. DEC has mentioned they have concerns over the width of 144 when it comes to the truck traffic there in regards to this project, which is nice because DOT doesn't have any concerns over it, which is nice to hear that somebody does. So that's good. So we could hopefully maybe get the state to widen and improve that road. Water is really more the village's territory, so I don't really want to speak to that. I know that the village mayor has met with Carver and them about their water needs. But I do know if they're using more water, if we have more people here, more apartments filled, using more water, our sewer plant is going to need some upgrades. And I believe that they are looking into all of those things so that we would have the infrastructure in place to deal with the added load on that. So it's definitely, there are engineers looking at things, and we will continue to work on that when we get in office.
Okay, Thank you. Someone wants to know, will internet services for those in lower income levels be an item on your agenda? And do you have any thoughts about how that may be accomplished early in your term?
I'd like to speak to that one. I'm a firm believer that internet, high-speed internet these days is a necessary utility, kind of like electricity and running water and things like that. There are a few areas left in town that we need to bring it to, and using the American Rescue Plan Act funds is a definite possibility. So I'd like to work with State Tel, Spectrum, and Mid-Hudson Cable pretty much from day one to start finding the cheapest way for us to do this and to make sure that those areas, and if anyone wants to let me know more areas than I know of, I know Buschendorf Road lacks high speed, and I know Lindskog Road and its offshoots lack it, and I believe North Lane off of Star Road lacks it as well. I'm not sure if there's other areas or not, but I know those areas, they need something more than they have, because some of them have nothing besides wireless internet. Others are still using DSL, which, I mean, most people have been off of DSL for more than a decade now. So they are very much behind the times, and yes, it will be a definite priority.
Okay, are there any other questions? Because I've got some more. I can always come with more. I've read the comprehensive plan, so I have a lot of questions. If you were given $1 million to do, if the town of Coeymans was given $1 million, and you could use it in any way you wanted to use it, how would you want to use it in the town?
Well, I would have to say, because I'm a big proponent of having citizens have a voice in what goes on in their town, I would definitely want input from the residents, the taxpayers, to see, what their priorities are. Now, we've been doing a lot of door knocking and speaking with lots of folks in the community, and, they've been voicing what their main concerns are. And some of those are ones we've already talked about. It has to do with, revitalizing and beautifying the community, especially Main Street, and also, down in the hamlet. They're concerned about the truck traffic and its impacts. Some folks are concerned about, the water and the air quality here in town. And $1 million could be spent on maybe employing some agencies to help us oversee that. There's just many possibilities, but these are the main concerns of the folks in town. And I think $1 million would have to be run through them to see what the priorities are.
Okay, anyone else?
I'd like to use it to get jobs on Main Street.
Okay. All right. I neglected to focus on the town supervisor. And my question is, as town supervisor, will you remain focused on Coeymans as your side job? That's a question that was sent to us. As town supervisor, will you remain focused on Coeymans as your sole job?
So definitely at first it'll be my sole job until I get things really underway and working smoothly. Some of the new processes in place, things like that. I'd imagine I'd work full time at it probably for the first at least 3 months. After that, I would probably look for something on the side, maybe 8 to 10 hours a week or so, just in order to make up some of that lost income, because I would be taking a pay cut to go to the supervisor's position. So, but definitely at first it's going to be a full-time plus hours, just as we're instituting some of the things we would like to do.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, okay, I'll ask a few more. I think we're good. Someone says, we got about 4 more minutes. I'm gonna ask one last question. When looking at the comprehensive plan, there were a lot of encouragements for the town to pursue various grants to upgrade Main Street. Have any of you, first of all, read the comprehensive plan, and are there areas in the comprehensive plan that you feel that you could really work at implementing?
I'll start by just saying that I read the comp plan very thoroughly, including the appendices, and that was just hundreds of pages. One of the reasons that I chose to run was how little myself and so many other people were heard during the review of the comp plan. So it was terribly upsetting to feel that, our voice as residents was not valued. One of my main concerns is the perceived push on industrialization of the town, even if the area of industrialization wasn't going to increase. What wasn't made, I think, entirely clear to the people was that the development of the land that's already earmarked as zoning can increase substantially compared to what it is now, and still within the industrial zoned land. That's certainly a concern of mine. And another issue is that because this was an amendment to the original comp plan, this now supersedes any of the original comp plan that was put through in 2006. And that original comp plan really highlighted and put precedence on the value of our environment and our need to protect it. So I'm concerned that the qualities and nature of the comp plan has really turned.
Okay, you got 30 seconds. Okay. 30 seconds. All right. I want to thank you all for your participation. Sorry to cut you off, but it's 7:59 and I know that glorious hour, 8 o'clock is going to hit us fast. I want to thank you all for your participation. We want to thank everyone who came online to listen to your thoughts about your vision for the town. We know that all of those who are running love the town of Coeymans, and that's why you're running. And so we wish you all well.
And on behalf of the library, I'd like to thank Antonio for moderating, all our candidates for attending. You're awesome. I didn't have to break out the red card even once. You may recognize the slogan of the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. So I really appreciate your willingness to spend your evening with us and cast a little bit of light. So thank you all, and happy voting, everybody. Have a great evening.
All right.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you all.
having us.